Hello, Bulldogs fans. Hope you're all doing well. It's Edo from the Bulldogs Elite Pathways Facebook page. Welcome back for another episode of The Bark. And today, going to be reviewing the Jersey Flegg Grand Final from last weekend between the Bulldogs and the Sharks. And got to have another look at it during the week after watching it live on Sunday. And also went through, again, the two finals games before that. So I had a good look at all three finals games that we won. But today, going to mainly focus on the grand final. So looking at the opponents, the Cronulla Sharks, they must have had a pretty slow start to the season. They ended up coming fifth on the ladder, which is the top 5 final series. And the first week of the finals, they beat the Knights 22-6. Second week, they knocked out the Panthers 40-26 after we beat them the week before. And then in week 3, they beat the Raiders after we beat them the week before as well to get into the grand final, and they beat them 38-18. So they were on like a very long win streak. I think it might have been about 8 games, but I'm not 100% sure. But they definitely had really good form going into this and were scoring a lot of points in a lot of these games. So there was nothing wrong with their attack. So they played 3 games to get to the grand final, and we had the 2, being the Panthers and then the narrow 15-14 win over the Raiders. So for those that don't know, this is an under-21s competition. I'm pretty sure most of you listening would know that. But and looking at the players that we used in this competition throughout the season, I don't know how other clubs use their players, whether they're mainly 20 to 21-year-olds, but the Bulldogs have taken a little bit of a different stance on that, and they're using not so much 18 to 21s, but I mean Mitchell Woods is probably the youngest one that was used throughout the season in Jersey Flegg, being 18. I think it's predominantly 19 to 21-year-olds that we used throughout the season. There was 45 players, and there's going to be a screenshot of that coming up, the players that we used throughout the year. And in the grand final side, I think there's 5 to 6 players that were 19 years old, and they were in the SG Ball Grand Final earlier in the year. There was also 7 players that were back-to-back premiership winners and were involved in the Jersey Flegg Grand Final win over the Roosters the year before. Plus, there was also a few players that had the opportunity to play up in New South Wales Cup throughout the season. Players such as Afualo Suat, Danny Gabriel, Cassius Tia, Jack Underhill played a large part of New South Wales Cup. Ruben Moyle, Damon Marshall had a taste. So did Logan Spinks. So did Luke Smith. So did Fami Taulalo. I think Callum Donaldson might have had a game or 2 as well. So it was really good experience for them playing up in a faster and a bigger, as in physically, in New South Wales Cup, and put them in good stead for when they did come back into Jersey Flegg. And pretty much from about round 23 on, I don't think the squad made too many changes, or the team that was named each week, too many changes. And they sort of settled into what they were going to go with for the rest of the year. But that did provide opportunities when they were playing up for other players to have a go in Jersey Flegg as well and get that experience, whether they were younger. There was quite a few 19-year-olds that were sort of in between Ron Massey Cup and Jersey Flegg. So without further ado, let's get into the game. There should be some pictures coming up of the game as you listen to my beautiful voice. So in the early stages of the game, it was a bit of an arm wrestle, free-flowing, no penalties, quite fast-paced. The Dogs had the better of field position due to very good line speed in defence, tackling in numbers, and really good carries. The likes of Rinakama with a good post-contact run. Incidentally, that was part of Luke Smith's, the captain, interview during the week leading up to that, where he was asked what the focus was, and they really wanted to start well, do all the little things right, and go on the back of that. And really, I mean, if that's the message from the coach So the captain, they did that in all 3 games of the final series. Really high energy start, tackling in numbers, gang tackles, line speed was all there. Really out enthusing their opponents early and making that known. Hooker Ruben Moyle found Damon Marshall for a crash play, but the Sharks held on, and Jed Reardon was on for Sewer while he was being assessed, and Reardon was in the centres, and it caused a bit of a reshuffle with William Afualo heading over to the other side of the field on the wing outside Danny Gabriel. Prop Jack Underhill then had his first impact on the game with a charge down that he won in Cronulla's territory, and moments later Tuilalo using his footwork through the middle around the rucks, and the next play halfback Cassius Tia threw a nice cutout pass to Danny Gabriel, who threw the final pass for William Afualo to score in the right hand corner, taking advantage of the man down Cronulla defensive side. Runakama and Afualo, as they have done in the previous finals games, were chiming in with yardage carries, and Tia nails a 40-20 after he almost had one earlier, and the Sharks were not dealing with their fullback in the bin. After a customary Marshall crash play, Tia throws a huge dummy, ran and stepped inside it to weave his way through and score, sensing a tiring Sharks middle, working overtime with the man down, and it was 10-0 just before their fullback returned from the bin. Centre Danny Gabriel then come up with a great read in defence, chopping down their centre, and Callum Donaldson and Bud Smith were on now. William Afualo then made a 40-metre burst down through the middle, and Wavick, as the 18th man, was on now for Sewer, who was then ruled out, and Wavick was playing outside Danny Gabriel as Afualo went back to his left side centre. That proceeded with 5'8" Joseph Tuiapa, who had his finest moment of the final series for me, where a set play he received the ball in his position, and he timed a nice cutout pass to his winger in Rinakama, and that was a 13-on-13 at that stage. They had got their man back, so it was crucial, and it became 14-0. Underhill then attracted 4 defenders off a charging run not long after the restart, still without a break, and Donaldson was taking his runs as he did when he started in the previous games of the finals. Ruben Moyle then forced a repeat set with a short kicking goal, and we were keeping them at bay, and Moyle then made a great cover tackle on a Michael Gabriel break. Bud Smith took some bumping runs. The 19-year-old SG ball player was really warming to his role in Flegg, and whether he plays out the back as a ball-playing 13 or he's just tucking it under his arm, tough kid, and he just kept on getting bumped and getting back up again. The half ended 14-0 with Cronulla pinned in goal. Second half started with Spinks charging a ball down, which led to a repeat set for the Dogs after early second half defensive pressure, and Rinakama took a nice bomb. Him and Afualo continued to chime in with the forward runs, which was really valuable through the middle, getting them out of yardage. Taj Ford did find some room through the middle though for the Sharks, and they struck first in the first half, and it became 14-6 after 45 minutes, and all of a sudden the game was starting to swing, well, a bit more in the balance anyway. Sharks on the back of a penalty were pressing, but Tiapa, Underhill and Marshall put in nice defensive work to repel the attack. Pat Young was now on for Ruben Moyle, and it was a good period for us in defence. Very spirited, great first contact on a couple of sets in a row. Out in the centres, Danny Gabriel continued to make correct defensive decisions, shutting the likes of his brother down, although hurting himself in the process, which he was probably going to have to play through the rest of the game with. Cassius Tia then put in an early kick, which was chased well, and Torlalo Young Tiapa and Spinks drove the Sharks back in goal with 8 minutes left. However, off the restart, they got the ball back, and soon Ford found room again and backed that up with a well-weighted kick for his outside man, and Cronulla were in again, and they were coming back, and it was 14-12 now with 6 minutes left. However, Rinakama took a second clutch bomb with even more pressure on him, capping off a brilliant game. Sharks got an extra set attacking the line after a Marshall deflection. Then Wavik did something similar by sticking an arm out to cut down an attacking raid wide. But a 6 again call, and the Sharks continued their attack on the line, but the Dogs were resilient in defence, and Gabriel stopped his brother again. Backs to the wall defence in the last 2.5 minutes on the line, and we forced them into an error with just 30 seconds left, and we ground out the win. 14-12, the final score. Thank you, linesmen. Thank you, ball boys. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations, the 2024 Jersey Flegg Premiers, the Canterbury-Bankstown Bulldogs. Not one, but two. Massive well done to all the players, Josh Jackson, the coach, all the staff and the parents. Going back to back, it's not an easy thing in Jersey Flegg. It's been a long time since I think it's been done, so enormous effort. It's been a fantastic season for the Jersey Flegg team, but also in the pathways for the Dogs. I've really enjoyed it. Looking at the way they play, though, it's a bit different to the NRL team. They don't play as an expansive game as the NRL side. They play a bit more of a traditional game, in my opinion. The halves get a lot of the ball, particularly Cassius Tia. The locker's not as much used as a ball-playing type lock as what the NRL does, chiming in with the playmaking. He predominantly is another prop a lot of the times. Well, in the final series I noticed anyway. And Cassius Tia goes to the line a lot and turns the ball back inside, or he finds a wide running edge forward. And then, the wingers and the centres, they come out and help with getting the ball out of yardage a lot, particularly Rinakama and Afualo. They did it all final series, and it's reflected in their metres numbers. It's a very simple but very effective game plan, and they base a lot of their play on fitness and working incredibly hard in defence for each other. Probably based on the tough pre-season they had in preparation for the season. And I remember talking to one of the parents, I won't name who it was, but I remember them saying, how hard his son and the team have worked this pre-season compared to other pre-seasons. And they've really put a lot of hard work in, and Jacko puts a lot of focus on building relationships with his players. Showed a bit of patience as well, and there was bonding nights where the boys would, each Friday after captain's runs, they would, if they were available, they would attend the Leagues Club and have dinner and listen to music, and it sounds like a really close-knit group, really getting to know each other, by spending as much time together as possible. I guess it's really buying into, the cultural aspect that Ciro's brought into the club and feeding it down through the grades, and Jacko has just run with it. And the players, they all have each other's backs, it seems, and they're all there for each other in times of hard times as well. You can just, even the players that aren't in the team each week, you can just see on social media how close these boys are. People in the club will probably say that, it's not everything winning the grand final. It's a lot of it's about the progress of the players and getting them ready for the bigger picture, which is obviously NRL eventually. But it's reward, though, in the short term for the the boys' hard work and dedication, to win a trophy and be recognised by their competitors for that. I think that's very important and stepping stone along the way in their journeys. I definitely think the week off before the grand final was uh, an advantage. That was a tough game against the Raiders where they won 15-14 after extra time and then golden point. It was a real bruising encounter, and I think that was very beneficial for the team. It enabled Jack Underhill to come back in the team, and with his man of the match performance in that grand final, he was just unbelievable. Incidentally, that Raiders grand final qualifier, the two captains, Luke Smith and Mitch Henderson, were teammates at Greater Northern Tigers a few years before. I think it might have been 2020. And Luke was actually playing in the centres in that team when Mitch was 5'8". So it was good to see them go head-to-head in such an important game. Just to talk about some of the players that played in the grand final and what I noticed on a few things. Starting with the fullback, Tay Cochran. He kind of reminds me of a bit of Jaden Campbell. Wiry, elusive, supportive, backs up, takes the tough carry in the middle and occasionally uses that elusiveness to bounce off bigger players, but not afraid to cop a hit. He played a really good final series, especially, I thought, in that game against the Panthers, I think it was. I think he might have got a couple of tries in that game. Renakama, the winger, started the year in SG ball, and he doesn't seem to have put a foot wrong in Jersey Flegg. Now, he's really good under the high ball, and as I said, he runs out of yardage. He's such a big guy, and he gets post contact meters as well, and really gets the sets rolling. Wavik, the other winger, he's had a year where he's been sort of moved a lot around in the back line and played a bit of 5'8" and a lot of fullback as well, but was called in to do a job on the wing for Sewer, and he was quite solid as well. He's a big guy, like he's quite a size. I don't know how tall he is, but he's not as tall as Ratu Renakama, but he's a big boy. It'll be interesting to see how he develops. I lost count of the amount of times that Danny Gabriel cut down his opposing centre and cut down, attacking raids wide by the opposition. His reads in defence are very solid. He takes some good runs as well and takes a tough carry, but it's more his defensive work which impressed me. But the other centre, William Afualo, he's a bit the other way. He's more of a dangerous runner of the ball. And again, along with Renakama, his post-contact runs out of yardage. He's like an extra forward pretty much. And he's hard to stop, especially if he beats the first defender, and he did that quite a number of times in that grand final. But he also did it against the Panthers and the Raiders. If I had to, top three players in the grand final, I think William Afalo is in the top three. Although there were a lot of good players for us, but I think he was well up there. 5'8", Joseph Tiapa. To be honest, I hadn't seen much of Joseph until the final series. I got to have a good look at him, and he's a bit of a link man and sort of plays a bit of a second role to Cassius Tia, who gets a lot of the first received ball. But what impressed me in the grand final was his defence. He's actually a really good defender. He kicks the ball occasionally, he gets that task, but I was quite impressed with his defensive work in the grand final. And of course that cutout pass that he threw, which got us to 14-0, which ended up proving very handy. If there was a player of the final series, it goes to halfback Cassius Tia. Man of the match in both the Raiders and the Panthers games. having so many try assists and scoring a couple himself. He had an unbelievable series. He goes to the line. He'll turn it back inside for an inside runner who may straighten the attack up, or he may end up going himself and taking a lot of the runs to the line, but also can then alternatively quickly get the ball out wide to his edges by throwing nice cutout passes, which a couple of times led to tries. His kicking game was pretty solid throughout the final series. A couple of really deft kicks. A couple of them actually led to tries where they landed, fortunately, in goal. I think Wavick got one against the Raiders. He probably is not as strong a kicker in general play as what Mitchell Woods is, so that's going to be interesting if they partner up. But and I think in the grand final in the second half, there was a couple of times there where he was sort of in two minds whether he needs to run because he's such a dangerous runner of the ball, or he didn't know whether he should kick. And one skewed off to the side. But, yeah, can't be too critical of him. He was fantastic. The pack were all great all through the final series, whether they were coming off the bench or they had the opportunity to start. Ruben Moyle, he's a busy player. He come up with some big plays in the grand final as well when he was on the field. Jack Underhill, I thought, was unbelievable in the grand final. Definitely the man of the match for me. His work rate was just incredible. He only missed 7 minutes of the game. Damon Marshall was fantastic, particularly in defence. Usually in tandem with one or two other players, but he is mostly the dominant tackler in each of his tackles. Spinks and Smith did their jobs on the edge. Toilolo at lock. Nice little footwork at the line he's developing. He's sort of becoming a bit of a Jack Todd with his footwork, which is nice to see. As I mentioned, Bud Smith, when he come on, he got bashed around, but he just kept getting back up again and going. Really, really good performance from him. He's, going to be part of this group now, which is going to, take us to next year in Jersey Flegg. There's a few of them. They're 19. Now they've had a taste of Jersey Flegg this year. They're going to be even more confident going into next year, and they're going to be the leaders of that side. The likes of himself, Jed Reardon, Pat Young, Rinakama, and Logan Spinks, although Spinks might get a little bit more New South Wales Cup next year. Pat Young, when he came on, he was very busy defence. He's got a nice around-the-legs tackle. Really chops them down. He'll make a few one-on-one tackles tackling like that. Nice style. And Callum Donaldson wasn't as noticeable in the grand final, but I thought he was very strong in the two games previous. I think particularly the might have been the Raiders game, where he actually started, I think, those two games, and he really got us off. He was one of the ones that really got us off to good starts in those two games, I thought. Him and Toilolo and Damon Marshall. Those three guys really laid the platform in those two games before the grand final, I thought. They were fantastic. And lastly, Jed Reardon. Jed's a real toiler. He reminds me of his old man in so many ways. His dad wasn't a huge guy physically, but as tough as they come. Both of them, they'll take the tough carry. They'll get up. They'll play the ball at a good play the ball speed, but also busy in defence. And I get the feeling Ciro is a big fan of that type of player. Real team player. Just, he'll follow the coach's instruction down to a T. He won't do the flashy stuff, but you need these guys in the team. Every team needs them. And he did it really well. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. there'll be some celebration videos, I think, to round off the YouTube video this week. I'd like to thank a lot of people for supporting the page on Facebook, and also if you've watched the videos on YouTube throughout the year, appreciate that. It's time to have a break, and I hope you all enjoy the off season in preparation for 2025, and I'll probably post up a couple of things between now and Christmas, looking at the NRL squad heading into next year. Alright guys, have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Come out onto CommBank Stadium, plenty of applause. Channel is barking, the Dogs are out onto the field here at CommBank Stadium. And the stage is set here on New South Wales Rugby League TV and 9 Now. We're underway here at CommBank Stadium. Grand final action for the Jersey Flegg Cup as the Dogs kick it off, and straight away nearly got through. Still a couple of plays here for the Dogs. Tia on this right-hand side brings it to the line. Oh, classic ball from Tia. Afawalo for the corner, and the Dogs strike first. What a pass from Cassius Tia. He can float like a butterfly, sting like a bee with a pass like that. It's try time for Canterbury. And yet again, the Sharks are stripped for numbers on that left-hand edge. They're set up that way, the Dogs. Tia dumming, this time takes it himself. Oh, Cassius Tia with a big right foot step. The halfback standing up in the big moments, and the Dogs have a second in the Jersey Flegg Cup Grand Final. About 2 metres shy of the line. Back for Underhill. Tia, they're building on this left-hand side. Tialpa, great ball. Rinakama for the corner. Oh, it's one-way traffic for the Dogs. They'll get a third try, and Ratu Rinakama in a rich vein of form. Sends it back to the middle. Ford threatening to link up, goes all the way through. Here comes Ford with an opportunity. Oh, big right foot step. Ford for the line. The little 5'8". He's taken it upon himself. He'll bring him back into the contest, and Cronulla have the fins up. The jaws are out. The Sharkies are in. Yes, they're scrambling, the Dogs. Last play, they must keep it through the hands, surely here from Ford. No, he's gone for the kick. It might end up perfectly. Dixon, what a take. The Sharkies are back. The Sharkies are back. And the Shire goes up as one. They'll make contact, and there it is. The final siren called, the whistle goes. Canterbury have done it. The Dogs are the Jersey Flegg Cup champions for 2024, and they've become the first team since the Penrith Panthers in 2006 and 2007 to go back-to-back.
Jersey Flegg Cup champions, the Canterbury-Bankstown Bulldogs. Ladies and gentlemen, Jersey Flegg
We didn't win that game because of strategy, because of anything other than the fact that we like to care so much about each other. We just didn't get to so fucking the amount of time that they give up during the year away from their families, and they're working full-time jobs, but they're just coming in because they want to help you blokes and they want you boys to fulfill your dreams and get better. So thanks a lot for the hard work, guys, and your work. And then last one, massive big reason why we're here, boys. It's the right reason why we're here. Well done, boys.
Moving at the speed of light into eternity. Tonight is the night. Join in the yes.
See Josh Jackson up close and personal. Even though he's at the back end of his career, the professionalism of that man was extraordinary. He was knocking on the door of the gym at 5 a.m. every morning. He was coming and doing extras. He would push himself in training just as hard as he did in games. He would never pull out injured. He would never miss a training session. He was professional. He was always there. He was one of the only ones at the time. In fact, he was the only one at the time who did his own personal video and did his own personal training. Josh Jackson was kind of like a lone soldier in that regard. And then he too, without fanfare, retired. Now he coaches our Jersey Flegg team, our under-21s. And the off-season he put them through and what he's doing with that team, he's a tremendous coach and he's really loving it. He said, I've never thought about coaching. He's outstanding. What he's doing with that Jersey Flegg side is outstanding. He's a future NRL coach. Really warm to it, and his work ethic is unbelievable. He's in there, 12, 14 hours a day. He never has a day off. He's just obsessed with it. He loves it. If you come through the Jersey Flegg in the Bulldogs club into the future, and you come through a Josh Jackson program, you'll be ready for the NRL. The senior coach won't have to worry about the kids that come through that program, and we're already seeing that now.
It's Bulldog royalty right there, Josh Jackson.
Yeah, absolutely. Train hard, play hard, never give up. But the kids that come through his program you won't have to question their tenacity, their toughness, their work ethic, their reliability, their honesty, the trust factor. You won't have to. There'll be no character flaws get through. And the players love him. They absolutely love him.
And I'm gon' shine, homie, until my heart stop. Go ahead, envy me. I'm Raps MVP, and I ain't going nowhere, so you can get to know me. Leader the love of the underdogs on top. And I'm gon' shine, homie, until my heart stop. Go ahead, envy me. I'm Raps MVP, and I ain't going nowhere, so you can get